And away we go. Welcome to Real World Recovery Podcast number 10?
Yeah, man. Double digits.
Double digits. Holy poop. Um, you were expecting me to say something different, weren't you? For shame.
Insert early swear word here.
We should beep it anyway.
But miss.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy poop.
Oh, that'd be fun. Anyway.
I mean, it's probably going to happen now.
So, for those of you who are out there paying very close attention, you will notice that Brett rearranged the room for us.
I did.
It was unbeknownst to us, or to me, but now it's known to me.
It is. And now to you.
And now to you. I think what he's done with the cameras is pretty good. Like, shifted it kind of up and, you know, out of frame. And then putting these back here definitely solved some of his OCD.
It solved some of my OCD, and it solved some of the visibility from the fixed room camera. So
now you guys not only
you have no choice but to see us.
This beautiful view, you also get this beautiful view and that beautiful view. And, you know, that way the microphones aren't blocking anything no matter what angle it is, which is...
Other than the lamp, which,
I mean,
really, they're not really blocking those either.
You know, they didn't,
Nobody's looking
they
at
didn't
the
come
lamps.
here for the lamp.
I mean,
I definitely...
They may have.
I definitely
don't know. They're great
came
lamps.
to Between Two Ferns for the ferns.
Yeah,
So, I mean, maybe
that's
somebody's
true.
coming for the lamps.
That's true. I'm sure that there was at least a handful of people who were like fern enthusiasts.
I feel like a really thought-provoking weathercaster once said, "I love lamp."
He did. There was another famous weather person that George Carlin knew.
Oh yeah.
That he referenced, and during his last broadcast before he retired. His name was Al Sleet.
Okay.
Seriously, great name for a weatherman.
Yeah, no doubt.
But you know, and he'd always introduce himself. He'd say, "I'm Al Sleet. I'm your hippy dippy weatherman with all your hippy dippy weather, man." And during his last,
That's great.
during his
How
last,
do I not know this?
during his last weather forecast, this is a true story. He comes on and he says, "Tonight's forecast, dark, with continued dark until morning when it'll be partially light. And the weather will continue to change on and off for a very long time." And that was it. That's all you ever heard from him.
That's pretty fantastic. You know, why am I drawing a blank? Lewis Black.
Not personally.
Once
I know who
once
he is.
said, you know what the best job in the world is, right?
Weatherman in Southern California?
Yeah,
Not
weatherman.
anymore.
Weatherman, yeah, in San Diego. Well, because you know they go to the weather and he'd be like, you know, hey Stu, what's the weather gonna be like today? And he's gonna be like,
Nice.
it's gonna be nice. Bam, $1 million. And they said you could be up there getting by a gorilla and still have the easiest job, getting paid the most amount of money for what you have to do.
Yeah. I mean,
We can't use that word on YouTube. Yeah.
we just did twice.
We'll have to beep that too.
Yep. What a way to ring in double digits.
I mean, I'm telling you what. Oh, man. So we didn't really come with a plan this week, but I think that's going to be okay.
No, I mean, it's a sort of plan. I got ideas.
Mm-hmm. Do you have like a concept of a plan?
I do. I've got a concept of a plan. I've got a Sharpie.
I couldn't help my. I couldn't help myself. I mean that weather in San Diego, man.
Turns out
It's not
it's
gonna
actually
Sharpie itself.
It's turning north. It's going to Canada.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's a nugget of joy there. How was your week, man?
It was good. I was the week that I was back finishing up the project at
okay.
at the tech school there, and I don't know. It was a little bittersweet because, you know, I actually kind of would like it if there was more of a full-time position available there, that I could see myself working there. And I think I made a good enough impression on everybody that I'd be on the short list for people that they'd hire.
Would want to ask back. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's one of those things that has definitely grown for me as a person since getting clean, is like the job didn't pay well.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine.
It was low paying job. Really.
Above like 15, all right? Like 17,
Barely.
18.
Yeah, barely.
I mean, it's, I mean, that's, you know, that's,
So
I could live off that. I mean, I did when I worked in
Sure,
residential.
but compared to
What we were doing, yeah.
what I
before
was, what I left, and I mean, even just the average pay for
in that field
for an IT position. So like this was like, we'll basically take anybody regardless of experience. So like,
Sure.
I was very overqualified with the amount of experience I had. So knowing that, like, back in the day, I would have just screwed around and, you know, like,
You've said that on this podcast.
I know. But now looking back on it and getting the feedback that I got from the other people that are on staff there full time, that like they said, like, we've had our share of terrible, you know, short-term contract hires, and
Right.
you know, occasionally we get really good ones, and you know, multiple people were like, you definitely are like on the short list of.
So really what I need to do is send you the meme where it's like, nailed it.
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily need a meme.
Well, but you
There's
know that's
plenty of
but
them.
you know that's how I show my love.
Sure, but the whole point is that I didn't go there with the expectation that this was going to be
Anything but what it was.
some huge moneymaker or
Right.
anything like that. Nor did I take it personally that I wasn't making more, or like somehow feel entitled to.
Right. Well, you
Yeah.
know,
It
yeah.
was, I knew going into it what it was, took it for what it was, looked at it with the mentality of like, I'm literally going here because it's something to do for a few weeks. You know, it's a little extra money in my pocket. And it's a great way to basically have an extended interview.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
even beyond that, if nothing
it's
ever
a
comes of it,
win-win-win.
and if nothing ever comes of it, fine. That's fine too, because I feel good about the work I did. I know that I left a good, you know, quality of work and,
behind you, yeah.
you know, I can feel good about that. And if that's all it is, then that still, it feels good. So
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for doing your best just because you're doing your best, and then, you know,
yeah, well,
feeling good in that. But that's something that takes so much time and practice to like get to a point in your life where you can feel not pressured.
I heard something interesting, and it's kind of timely with Jimmy Carter's passing.
R.I.P. by the way, big man.
He talked about a interview that he had with like the head of the Navy's like nuclear division, like nuclear subs and stuff.
Okay.
And
Like
he was
rear
when
admiral
he
or
was
something.
when he was young in his early in his career, he was very proud of the fact that he graduated like 59th out of like 850 people or something like that, and was telling him this in the interview. He was like saying that as kind of a, you know, brag or a feather in his cap or whatever as part of the interview, and completely unfazed. The guy interviewing him, Rockaway or something like that was his last name, but he said, I mean, that's great, but did you always do your best? And Jimmy Carter answered him honestly, and he said no. And so I sat there for a couple of seconds in silence and got up, and he's on his way out the door. He just said to him, why not? and he left. I left the interview, and Jimmy Carter had written about it in books or something, and like that impacted him for the rest of his life. Like, why didn't he do his best? And I don't know.
Yeah, why not? Indeed.
Yeah. So
I was the best raver. I'm sure there's someone out there to say otherwise. But
I'm sure that there's plenty of people that would want to like contest that.
I was the best raver I could be. I'll put it to you that way.
There you go. There you go.
We all were, though, weren't we? Speaking of which, I think I figured out. So I've been wearing bracelets for a very long time, very very long time, and I have this habit of putting hair ties on my wrists. And I hadn't really thought much about it. I've been doing that for quite a while now too. Growing back out my long hair has given me an excuse, so I have to explain it less. But I think if my oldest daughter was like, "Dad, why do you do that?" And this might have been back in October, and I was like, I don't know. And then I realized that from like the age of like 15 until probably like 24, I wore candy. I was that raver. Yeah. And I always had at least 2 pieces of candy on each wrist, plus my little bands and a watch. And yeah, so I mean, I think that like part of it is that it's like a security thing, I guess. And how odd is that? I think it's the same thing to like why we're addicted to the sparkling water, because I'm so used to having a beer in my hand.
I mean,
also it's delicious.
Yeah, I
not drinking enough water. Why don't you drink some water? That sounds like somebody yelled a fruit's name in the other room.
Yeah.
Yeah. So besides that, anything else fun and exciting? I mean, this had to have been pretty exciting to rearrange this room.
This was earlier today.
Oh, you did this today?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yep. I did this today.
I did a lot of cleaning and organizing today. A whole lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like you had a little tornado in your house for a while there.
No, actually, I'm not doing it at my house. The kids weren't that bad. Like, I maintain the expectation that they need to clean up after themselves. So, last day, the night before bed, it's like,
yeah,
everything's getting cleaned. My mother does all the laundry because she's a saint. I mean, yeah. I would if she didn't. But everything has to get cleaned up and put away. I mean, it's not like it got deep cleaned. I'm not gonna like have her space be left trashed by the children, and I'm not gonna clean up after them. They're gonna do it. So
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, my aunt and uncle bought a house in Florida, and my cousin I would like to say recently, but it's been almost 3 years now, moved up to Alaska. And never really moved out of their house.
Mm-hmm.
Their house is set up kind of similarly to like my situation, where there's like a full apartment kind of in the basement, and then there's the upstairs, and so he's got like his whole life in there.
Yeah.
More than I even had in my storage unit that I left behind in Grand Rapids. And it's just a lot of stuff, and I know that feeling of like, okay, I'm making this change. I've got to go, and I've got to just make this change, and like kind of leaving everything behind and not taking care of a lot of loose ends and such. But they bought a house in Florida, and they're like hard considering selling this house, and they can't sell it with all of that there.
Sure.
So they offered to pay me a bit to clean up, do some remodeling, make the bathroom in the basement functional, have a shower in it, so that if they wanted to break it into 2 like actual full apartments, we could make that a thing, or just have it a 3-bedroom 2-bathroom house, whatever. It brings up the value of the property. It's been something they've been talking about for probably literal decades.
Yeah, no, that's
And I could seriously use the money, and they could use the help. So we're kind of helping each other out. But in order for me to remodel that bathroom in the basement, I have to clean up his 20 years worth of stuff,
yeah,
and I have to box it up and make it semi-organized. I could, no offense to them, but I mean, I could kind of tell that they didn't want to go down there and do anything with it.
Sure.
It's very clearly kind of just left as he
Yeah.
left it, and then unfortunately her brother passed, and so all the stuff they had to take out of his apartments down there too. So it's a lot of and that one's painful. You don't want to. That's hard to go through that stuff. So I get that too. But I'm very much okay with just organizing the shit out of it. Making sure that everything, so that when the time is time to go through it, it's just open up the box, go through it, box A, box B,
Yep.
and just run through it. I'm offing a bunch of furniture for them. I've made some serious progress, but it has been 12 hours of my life the past 2 days. And you might say 6 hours a day isn't that much. Well, when you're going through stuff like that,
Yeah.
and it's hard because if it were my stuff, I've gotten so good at that storage unit. I like went back and got like my records out of it, my vinyl, and like nothing else. I
Yeah.
gave the rest of it to a friend who buys and sells storage units, and I'm like, sell it
Yeah.
or throw it away. I don't care. And I know that they aren't at, like, neither my aunt and uncle or my cousin are in that place in their heads right now. Because if it was me, it would be like gone, 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 gone. There's this man, and if you're watching this for whatever reason in the future, tomorrow, or this will be up Saturday. Hey, we're recording on Thursdays now. Look at us go and give ourselves actual time to edit correctly. Anyway, I digress. If you're watching this, it is not necessary to own 400 t-shirts. And you're medium, so I can't even steal any of them. Anyway, so I'm gonna get him on like Google Meet or something. How we do the interviews or whatever, and I'm gonna like pull them out one by one. I'm like, but I'm going at it with this like mentality where it's like, look, man, if you're not gonna be here in the next 6 months, then 95% of this needs to go. This 10 boxes needs to shrink down into like a box.
Yep.
And that's just how it's got to be, because like it's not his parents' responsibility to deal with it. It's
Right. Or if you do want to keep more than that,
then
get a
fly
storage unit.
Yeah, fly down
Or-
here and get a storage unit, or fly down here and rent a truck and
pay to ship it or
drive
whatever.
it
Yeah.
to Seattle and take it on the ferry. I don't know how you do that, because I know, much like me, you can't go into Canada once you have your second DUI. So they're like, no, sir, which is unfortunate, because Canada is beautiful. Canada, if you're listening, please let me back.
Then
I miss you.
I feel like that changed.
Did it? That'd be wonderful news. But yeah, anyway, so that has been what I have spent the past 2 days doing. Monday, I try to take a proper mental health day, but real life could not leave me alone. My car, all the money that I spent on that steering rack, the steering rack went bad. Thankfully, all still under warranty, but I still had to go like a couple days without my car. The shop was very good, took care of me. They were very thankful that I'm very chill kind of person. I don't want to do the chill guy meme again, but
I'm sure that they deal with their share of.
yeah, well, a lot of people go in there, and especially if it's something like that major, I mean, that's $3,000 worth of parts and labor. A lot of people would be really upset by that.
Yeah.
And even a past version of myself might have been, but probably not. I don't know. I'm pretty relaxed when it comes to that sort of thing. Other things, not so much, but like, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna go in there and be like, oh, it's not their fault the part failed?
Right.
Like, am I gonna write, oh, Riley is a sternly worded letter, precision, whoever the F,
They're
manufactured it, because they don't care either.
No.
I mean, like, what are we gonna do?
well, and I think even bigger than that is what good does even figuring out who to blame do?
Yeah, I mean,
like, the thing happened.
I'm gonna blame the supply chain.
Like, the thing happened. It doesn't. The blame makes no difference at this point.
No, it doesn't. But you still get that like little like, okay, I don't have a car, I'm trapped. You know,
Yeah.
that you know that feeling. So that was a little it's always hard when I have the kids for short periods of time. You know, Christmas will usually be 2 weeks, maybe it was 10 days because it was their mother's turn to have Christmas Day. And then, you know, spring break, it'll be like 8-9 days, you know, that Saturday to Sunday or whatever. It's hard, you know, at the end of summer, it's like, it's been 3 months. Go spend some time with your mother.
Yeah.
It's sad to see him go because, you know, you had spent so much of your life and your time and your energy putting together this family unit and making it as in your mind stable as possible. And I'm gonna always be there for my kids because my dad wasn't. And like, you know, as I'm older, I understand like it wasn't necessarily, you know, it wasn't really his choice the way things ended up. You know, but it wasn't my mother's either. It's just kind of how it ended up. But it doesn't mean that it still doesn't suck, and it still doesn't create this like disappointment in like myself, you know, like missing the kids outside of that. But like I wasn't good enough to stay in my kid's life, you know, drugs and alcohol aside. I mean, the way my divorce went, you know, she was unnecessarily away about it, in my opinion. It's just, I don't want to talk bad on anybody, but it just like it from my perspective, it was not handled in a healthy manner from her end either. And you know, it just sucks.
Yeah.
You know, you thought your life would be different. You know, did that accelerate my drug and alcohol use? Well, yeah, hell yeah, it did, because all of a sudden, like, I have no responsibilities. Like, I don't want to just say it was because of the divorce and not getting to see my kids ever. It was because that's who I was before I had children. And when you all of a sudden don't have all the things you put in place to kind of keep you on the rails, when the rails are gone, when the flange is off the wheel, the train doesn't stay on the tracks.
Yep.
And you know, it was just too easy to say yes. But if I hadn't, I wouldn't be here with you, Brett. And so we'll give some meaning to it. I hope you gave that look to the camera.
Oh, I did. I 100% did.
Yeah, I mean, it's
But no, I know what you mean, and not having kids, but similarly was going from a job working in hospitality before COVID. I was working 50 hours a week. You know, I crazy busy all the time, events, weddings, you know, normal bar shifts at their actual bar and restaurant, you know, and then events on the side as well. And, you know, so like that was the routine, was 5, 6, 7 days a week sometimes, working my tail off and then fitting in, you know, maybe a few hours
of sleep or
well,
I mean, no.
yes, but after the after work hangout session with coworkers, then all of a sudden the first thing to close when there's a global pandemic with a highly contagious virus is all the places that people hang out in close quarters.
I mean, you didn't rave in the underground because we did not stop.
Well, but
no, I know what you mean though.
all of the, you know, and it was the day before St. Patrick's Day.
Really?
Yeah, that Madison Everything went locked
Yeah,
down.
Michigan
And-
closed down so early.
Went from that schedule
Yeah.
to zero responsibility, zero work, but still had income because they gave additional unemployment benefits. There were all sorts of
I remember.
funds that went out very quickly for people in the service industry.
Yeah.
There were like, I actually got one of the grants. It just was like,
I could have totally took out a PPP, and if I would have known that we'd never have to pay him back, I probably would. But then I might not be here, so because I would not have been responsible with that ish.
right. So, yeah, all of a sudden going from working steadily and having and at least masking, for 50, 60 hours a week as a responsible member of society
Yeah.
and having to put on that face to not having to do that at all went bad quick.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do in the context of 2020.
Yeah. I think so.
It's rough. It's funny. You texted me earlier this week, and just flat out said, "Are you okay?" Which I appreciate.
Yeah, man.
But I feel like I was disingenuous with my answer. I feel like you knew that deep down though, like because I'm generally fairly active on social media. I do certain things. I didn't like immediately make shorts after my kids left. I just it hit me in a way it hasn't so much in the past, like where it was just kind of like that disappointment in myself, that self-loathing kind of tripped in from the things I was talking about earlier. So yeah, I mean, I also didn't make a meeting in 2 weeks, which is out of my norm. I mean, it is what it is. I'm excited to go back on Saturday to Smart because I missed that one too. It's just hard, when the kids are there to go to an online meeting when it's like right at bedtime and and you we want you to read a book, or it's like, do you just let them stay up later, or do you put them to bed earlier, or do you just go, it's rough. Last Thursday, I'm going to blame on you, Darcy. It'll be fine. That was the first time I missed that meeting in over a year. Mm-hmm. And so that felt weird too. Sure. I don't know. And so what I did with that energy is like, so Monday, I didn't have a car and I was going to take the day off. And instead of getting to take the day off, I got news that the school only approved a portion of my loan. And so there was that moment of like, what am I going to do? Mm-hmm. So immediately, instead of getting to turn off and just like exist in my apartment in the dark, as I like to do when I'm kind of feeling away, it was thrust right back into, okay, how do I solve this? Like, what do I need to do to solve this? How do I solve this? Well, the way I solve it is by getting my butt over to my aunt and uncle's house and putting some hours in, getting that stuff done. So like that's what I ended up doing Tuesday. As soon as I got my car back, I just loaded up and I went over there, and I didn't really do anything Tuesday night, but as soon as I was up on Wednesday, got to it. Yep. And I don't condone throwing yourself straight into work as a way to deal with a problem. Because you and I both know, and you guys, I hope, know, that it's just another form of escapism. But I feel like since I need money, it's a healthy version of it.
Well, and I was just going to say, yes, it can be if that's the whole point, is to just get away. But in your case, it is actually
literally the solution as well.
helping to get you towards a solution, because if part of the problem that comes up is I need to figure out a way to bridge this gap in funding for a thing.
Well, everything I need is paid for. I just don't know how I'm going to eat.
Sure. So then the whole, but again,
put gas in my car.
But again, the whole thing is there's this gap in what I need to have, what my budget is that I need to have for funding, and what I'm actually getting, so I need to recoup that somewhere. If the solution is then in fact make more money,
Yeah. Well,
going to work
as
is actually
as you were talking about getting hoping to get hired by the tech school, I was like I'm thinking to myself while you're saying that. I didn't want to interject at the time, but I'll interject now. Um, was they have like the student work program, and I'm
Yeah.
like, wouldn't it be fantastic if you were my supervisor and I was your lackey? And it would be funny because it'd be the third time in our lives that we worked together in like less than a year.
Yeah, that I stranger
Fourth if you count this.
stranger things have happened.
Yeah,
like, honestly. So
I mean, where else do they stick the old guy? I don't know. It's this whole experience is kind of like. So it's the 9th, and my first class is the 22nd. So we are less than 2 weeks.
yeah,
Until I have to be in Spanish 1 at 9:30 in the morning.
nice. At least it's 9:30. At least it's not
Yeah.
like 7:30 or
Yeah.
8.
Well, and
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go into how hard I tried to make that not a thing, but it's like it's getting to the surreal point where it's kind of like when you're on a roller coaster and you're going up that first really big hill and you're going up and it's like the click 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 click, and then it hits that spot where the last click happens, and it's like that moment right where it just starts to coast and you're just like, you're not moving forwards, you're not moving backwards. I feel like I'm at that moment right now, realizing the weight of this decision.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no way off.
You want to know a fun fact?
I mean, I'm excited, but I'm like, oh well,
Yeah.
It's time to...
Here's a fun fact that you may not know about me is I have been on a roller coaster exactly twice in my life, and the first one I don't think counts as an actual roller coaster because it was like when I was like knee high to a duck.
The gator on the front of it.
Yeah, it was like knee high to a duck, so it was like literally just
Do they say duck in Wisconsin? I thought it was grasshopper.
I don't know. Whatever.
One's a lot shorter.
I mean, I was
Anyway,
older than that.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
But so yeah, that one I don't think even counts. But the first like proper one I went on, I found out that I get like pretty significant vertigo.
Part of the thing that it's supposed to do, but yeah, if you
but like to the point where like
you threw up all over everybody.
I didn't throw up,
but you got like a migraine.
Yeah, like I could not I just could not recalibrate and like get my legs back under me. Everything went white. I'm like, nope, can't do this. Like the gyroscope in my brain apparently doesn't.
Did it happen after you went down the hill, the first hill?
It was. I think we were doing a loop.
Okay. Well, so you still know the sensation I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Bring this back to me.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely know it, but less from a roller coaster and more so from like driving recklessly at very high speeds and going over hills. And you get that weightless feeling up at the top, and then you fall. You kind of feel your stomach go up in your throat a little bit.
Yeah, but see, I feel like in that situation, you have this, like, whether it's real or not, like this sensation that you're in control. Whereas on a roller coaster, you are very well aware that you are in a zero control situation. Like, you bought the ticket, you take the ride. You know what I mean?
All right, Hunter.
Although, nice. Although that moment when all four wheels leave the ground, there's something to be said for that.
Or like totally losing it on ice.
Yeah, where it's just like, oh, well,
yep,
maybe this is it. I guess we'll find out. Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah.
I have reapplied to Badger Car. And now, it's the 3-4 weeks where you wait on them to.
Yep.
But I do have the letter from the feds saying that I qualify for it again. So I'm hoping that the state of Wisconsin agrees.
Yeah, it'll just be a matter of time then.
Yeah. In which case, I am going back to therapy because I've missed therapy since I lost my badger care. Because on our plan,
Right.
it was mental health. That's not real. United Healthcare, by the way. Just so you guys know which health plan I was talking about. It was UHC. Anyway.
Yep. We've got a secret cooler down here filled with sparkling water.
I mean, we could.
We could. There's definitely room.
Yeah. I mean, there is. You know what'd be better, though? Like an old school, like, ice chest, like with an ice cabinet. You know what I mean? So we stick, like, a giant block of ice in there. And then, it's all insulated. Just to make it feel more old-timey. We could even deck it out with some RGB so it can match the microphones. We put it right here and just be like...
and old-timey ice chest, but
RGB.
But throw LED strips on it.
I mean, that's how you know it's working. Otherwise, how would you know that it's plugged in?
Wait. Why are you plugging in an ice chest?
Take all the time.
You don't need a block of ice in it if it's got to be plugged in.
Yeah. I mean, I don't make the rules, man.
Okay. I want to see this.
I needed that. I don't know. Yeah. That's how my brain works, man.
Okay. We'll just let it marinate out there.
Yeah. Hey, man. Comment down below if you thought that was ridiculous or funny, or if it makes sense to you.
I'll let you guess which one my vote goes towards.
I think it was the perfection of abstract thought process.
It was something.
That's the kind of joke that would make it on the Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
I don't know.
Maybe not.
I don't know.
C-Lab?
I think that was C-Lab. I could see
C-Lab?
Yeah. It was too well constructed for Aqua Teen.
Yeah, that's fair. No feet. Anyway.
Right. Like Hand Banana, like the same show with Hand Banana. Like
my brother's Wi-Fi is Hand Banana forever.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey,
that's pretty great, isn't it?
One of the best episodes they ever did.
I'll be coming for you later, Carl.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Now that we've been doing this for a moment, I like the new position of the microphones.
Do you?
Well,
I do too.
Well, so like I can actually get underneath the desk, which I know we discussed last week.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was on camera or off, but
yeah.
I discussed that I wanted to be able to get up on the desk, and now it's like I can get underneath the desk, and then this can be like right in my gob.
I kind of dig it.
And I don't have to worry about leaning in and not being on camera.
Yeah, it
is very well thought out.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think we got a winner here.
Yeah.
And my OCD is definitely
it only took
a lot
3 months.
happier with that.
It only took 3 months. Can you imagine how badass this is going to be when we've been doing this for a year? We're going to have like lights, and there's going to be like,
hey man,
there's going to be like more art, and we'll have something here. And it'll be like our own little studio.
Yeah, I keep trying to like have some sort of an Easter egg in every episode of something that changed.
Well, you changed so much this time. I haven't found it because you just keep adding.
No, like the change is the big change.
this is the change.
This episode is a big change.
Yeah.
This is the big change episode. for double digits.
This is the big change.
We went big time.
I mean, I like it.
I do too.
I think it was fantastic. What's interesting is every single, even the small changes, okay? Every single one of them has been like, why didn't we think about that before this moment? You know what I mean? Like, why is it like all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, this makes perfect sense. Like,
Yeah.
When I walked in, I was like, well, that makes perfect sense. Like,
Right.
why has it been a different way?
I almost did this the last 2 nights because I was laying in bed and had it literally, I could picture it in my head, and I was like, if I get up and do it, then I'm gonna have to hook everything up and test everything. And I was like, but because I'm not just gonna
Yeah.
move it
Well, and
without knowing that it should be there.
yeah,
And
it should be plug and play.
yeah.
Yeah. And now, like with video editing, like I have like YouTube open on the one. The studio, I'm not generally watching YouTube videos while I'm editing our YouTube videos because I've tried to listen to music softly and I can't do that either.
No.
I tried so hard. I'm like, maybe if I would listen to slower, softer, and then it's just like I can't.
The only thing that I've found is like even could potentially is like really like quiet instrumental,
Yeah, I mean that's what I try to do. I try to do like,
but not even electronic.
Really, like classical music.
Yeah, like that's it. That's it. That's all.
My-
Otherwise, everything else, it's like conflicting.
So what period are we talking? Like Brahm? Are we talking?
I usually default to Bach.
Yeah. Well, I kind of figured.
I'm kind of a Bach guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you seem like that. His style of composing looks like a really complicated like function. Do you know what I mean? Like a written out algebraic function.
Yeah.
And that writing style makes sense for how your brain works.
Mm-hmm.
No offense.
No,
I mean,
none
like,
taken.
that's
Absolutely accurate statement all around.
It's funny, people go, well, he was deaf. How did he write music? And it's like he figured out how mathematically to abuse the circles of fifths and like just ran it.
Yeah.
He didn't need to. I mean, he wasn't completely deaf. He had some hearing, but he didn't need to hear it to know that it was good because he understood formulaically how to write the music.
Right. Yeah. I mean, really, that's
It's pretty insane.
that's basically all music boils down to.
Yeah. I mean,
I
listen to a lot of freeform jazz, so not sometimes, but
I mean, that's like,
and by a lot I mean sometimes, but when I'm not listening to like happy hardcore or
it's like theoretical math.
yeah, I mean sure, it still works for the most part sometimes.
It's like experimental.
It's there used to be this electronic music called acid jazz, and it was pretty great. I don't know that I think it just turned into freeform.
Yeah.
But when it was more funky and it had a lot of really good drum lines, and it was kind of a lost art form on the dub culture that unfortunately is still strangleholding the electronic music scene to this day. End rant.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
Yeah.
Good thing I'm editing this week. Brett would have just gotten rid of that.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you editing the past 2 weeks.
I've actually enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought you might.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's better if it's at least shared responsibility.
Sure.
So that one of us doesn't feel like we're doing more than the other. And I know. But we've both been around long enough that we know that sometimes like resentment can come out of weird spots. And if we're taking turns at least, then it won't be like one day I'm just like so mad at editing and I'm like this an episode in like 2 months and it's his turn and oh my god, you know what I mean? Because it could happen.
I'm pretty liberal with the chop.
Yeah.
Liberal with the chop.
Are you?
I am.
I'm gonna have to watch that back. Now I have to watch that before I do this one. Yeah, maybe I'll do that instead of. I'll do that while I'm painting.
I'm a firm believer that
Less is more.
like we've got a pretty solid target mark that if we can try to get it to, I think.
And what was that again?
Between 45 and 60. I think if we can sit between there, that's kind of the sweet spot.
Gee Willikers, that's about where we're at.
It is. Mm-hmm. But also listening back, having the audio flow better, because obviously then when we put it out and there's no video accompanying it and it's just an audio podcast.
So if you go back, Today I Found Out is a really good example of this. Are you familiar? It's a YouTube channel / podcast. So I don't know if they still are doing it. I think they still might be, but they would do a live stream where they would do the podcast and they would talk about whatever things that they were going to talk about on the podcast. But the live stream would be like 2.5 hours long, and then it would get whittled down into a 45-minute podcast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, I'm all for the podcast itself, like the RSS. Yeah, that should be 45 minutes to an hour. But I don't know, YouTube, I feel like,
I still think that
an hour should be the target.
Yeah. Because
why don't you guys tell us?
Unless there's significant if there's a good conversation and there's, but if we're just spending the last 20 minutes
talking about this
to fill time.
Is this not entertaining?
You know what I mean, though? Like,
I do, yeah. I mean, if we're just trying to get to a spot on the timer.
Yeah, if it's just filling time to fill time, then there's no point. So my whole thought is, even the video, I if I can, I'll cut mercilessly because I want it to flow properly and I want it to stay engaging and I want the conversation to continue to flow so that there's not... Because if we're not reading from a script, which we never are,
right,
there's going to be pauses where we're thinking or breathing or taking a drink or hitting our vape or whatever.
Or both at the same time.
So all of those things are occurring. Those are not nearly as entertaining to watch. So
I mean, yeah, subjectively.
Yeah, somebody who's not just watching the channel to support the channel and actually watching it because they're expecting to have some good content and conversation.
Maybe even
is going to want
discourse.
Is going to want the show to flow nicely and have a good conversation that actually makes some good points. So like I'm looking, man. When I'm going through and making my edits, I'm looking at it as like, how do I keep this on message, concise, flow nicely, and that's what I shoot for. And then the audio, I can go to town with that because
the audio is so easy
because I don't have to worry about how does the video look while I'm doing it. I literally can just cut.
Yeah, like you'll never hear the other us vape on the audio track because it just won't be there.
Right.
As he grabs his vape.
You'll still potentially hear, other things if
talk about.
But vaping. I mean, if there's conversation happening, but if both of us are making noise at this, whatever the noise is, at the same time, it's going to be difficult. But having
both adjusting our chairs, having
two separate audio tracks does make it a little easier to just cut or mute one.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
And
you can keyframe it in a certain way where you can make it like dip a little bit, and I don't know. I have been playing with my Twitch streams. I am just recording that straight since I'm already using OBS to stream. I'm just recording that and then I'm throwing it in Caden and I'm adjusting the volume because, as I talked about last week, there's a volume issue on the internet where the internet expects it to be as loud as possible, and that does not sound good when you're recording music,
right?
Or anything really. I don't know why it's a thing. It should not be a thing. Quit it. So I have to turn it up to post it to YouTube because I've been posting them to YouTube. And I didn't really think about it before last week, but the like pans and stuff that you can do when you're using transforms, you can keyframe it so it will move to different spots in the frame, on each keyframe. And I was like, oh my God, I can do that with the audio. That keyframe volume, you can adjust it all the way across the entire thing. So at that spot, you can make it go up from here to here. And then, so I was like, oh man, like, so now not only do I not have to be subject myself to the normalized gods because Lord knows what that freaking bit of whatever is doing.
It tries.
It tries so hard, but like it, like if you have the attack and decay set improperly,
Right.
like it gets real wild. And I was like, oh my God, I can just keyframe this thing. And yeah, okay, it sucks to go over an entire 3-hour long waveform in the case of a Twitch stream, but you can see on the waveform where it's louder and quieter. So if you adjust the quiet parts to be louder, and then adjust the whole thing up, whatever,
Right.
8 decibels as it usually is. 8 decibels. I mean, okay, and like when I'm running it through OBS, like I have the limiter set to just below red, which is louder than I honestly feel comfortable having it set, but like it's so freaking quiet even there.
Right.
And I'm like, and I don't want to turn it up on the board. Do you know what I mean? Like at a certain point, it's like, okay, you don't want to turn your preamps up, and the mixer is the preamp at this point. Like you don't want your mixer to be in the yellow at all, like zero at all. You know what I mean? And then it's like coming off the mixer, and then it's like mid yellow in OBS. Like, okay, that means like it's pretty loud, you would think, on Twitch, as loud as I'm comfortable making it, because it's going to distort if you go up any higher, at least if anybody's listening to it with some volume. But anyway, that translates into YouTube as super fucking quiet. So anyway, la la la.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm done with that rant as well. Hey, thanks for coming in and watching me rant today, guys. This is good though. I've enjoyed this format. It's been organic. It's been nice.
Yeah. It's like we talked about in lasting habits is just do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we don't really like have.
What is a podcast if it isn't two guys both wearing hats, one with a beard and the other a mustache, talking about things that are affecting their lives?
I mean, I don't think it's got to be two guys.
I mean, but I'm saying, unfortunately, the vast majority of them are. I think that there should be more all-girl podcasts, but I don't know. I've been watching a lot of Conan O'Brien's podcasts lately, and him and Sana, their chemistry is hilarious. It's great. Anyway.
Cool.
The look on his face. It's just like...
But I do want to give one thank you. I have it in the about info on the audio podcasts out on Apple and Spotify and everything. But
yes,
special shout out to my friend Jamie Deering and his company Vivray LLC for giving us the rights to use clips from the Clyde Stubblefield live show,
which was very baller of
back
you.
in 2007 at the High Noon Saloon here in Madison. Allowed us to use some clips from that for our intro and outro.
Yeah, well,
you audio podcast.
From a old angry vinyl DJ's perspective, did a really good job at selecting what part of what tracks.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think he did a good job.
I thought they were good.
Yeah, that would have been one of those things where I would have had to listen to it for like 17 days straight before I could have decided which break I wanted.
I spent longer than I probably want to admit.
But it wasn't 17 days.
It was not. And it was all from one song. I knew which song.
I mean, that's good.
Mostly because it's one of those songs where, especially when they played it live, they did a lot of they'd go around the horn and they'd give each person in the band like
a moment to like do their thing.
So it was
again
them
jazz guy,
just jamming, and so I was able to get a clip of sax, a clip of keys, a clip of hand drums, and all.
The bongos?
I mean, those are one of the hand drums that they had in the arsenal.
It's an entire fleet of percussion.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a full setup of hand drums, not just bongos.
Yeah. In the 60s, they were referred to that as the jungle drums.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. It's a thing you know now.
Hey, that checks out.
I mean, yeah. Anyway, I have a ton of jungle drum vinyl from the 60s and 70s. It's good stuff. Yeah. Anyway.
Cool.
I'm just chock full of it today.
Yeah.
Chock full of good things. Did you happen to come up with a word? I love how this is becoming a thing where I put you on the spot for a word.
There was one. Oh my God. I thought you were going to ask me last week.
Didn't I?
No.
Oh. God, I was really off my game this past couple weeks, man.
Oh my God. No, I forgot it.
So I think that the word of the week should be discombobulated.
Did you know the Milwaukee airport's the only airport that has a recombobulation zone?
Does it really?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Or a recombobulation area?
So in Fortnite Save the World, they have what's called the perk combobulator, which is just fantastic because it does exactly what you would think. It allows you to combobulate the perks on the weapons and the traps. And so maybe the word's combobulate, which means to assemble.
Yeah.
Anyway. If you've made it this far,
yeah,
why don't you give us a like? If you've not done so already, subscribe. If you want YouTube to harass you incessantly when we create new content, go ahead and hit that bell.
Yeah, it'll definitely let you know.
Yeah, it sure will. Exciting times, guys. Yeah, I guess that's it. See you guys next week.